Now, let's come back to, I think whenever we talk about this business, everybody says इसमें कुछ possibility नहीं है, ये तो old world है, it is touch and feel. But the fact of the matter is we have been talking about it now for maybe 6 to 9 months. We started focusing on it for maybe last 1 year, where even in Bharat FinTech Summit, we had a lot of topics around secured lending. And we've seen the change happen as well as we say and see in the market. We think that a lot more can happen. So I think where we are heading towards is generically, and whenever you talk about secure lending and LAP and others, we see 20-25 days of typical turnaround time. And we believe that turnaround time should ideally be for a pre-approved property, that is for say HL. It can be 2 days even, and even less than that. Whereas for new properties or maybe for LAP equivalent, can we bring it closer to 7 days or 10 days? And that dramatically will change the way the customers look at you, customer appreciate you. In terms of amount of money which is spent on getting one single customer, I think it looks very high, 20,000 to 50,000, but honest answer is that this is what we see in the market. If you are way below this, then you're super efficient as well. So, but we have seen 20,000 to 50,000 is very much on the table. Because many people will say, no, I'm super efficient, but you're not taking the cost of the sales guy at all, and the hierarchy which is involved. There's also cost attached when the employees are there, but still we go through DSAs, and DSAs cost money. Whatever be the percentage, it can be half or one, whatever you're giving incentives, cost a lot of money. On a 20 lakh base, you are end up spending maybe 50 to 20,000 rupees on your DSA or partner, and that itself is not a bizarrely low cost. So can you cut down the cost down to less than 10,000? It will dramatically impact your P&L as well. In terms of what you charge to customer is also very high. So generally, because you are expensive, you tend to sort of charge the customer very high as well. So there's a cost per loan which you attach. So once you have CAC very high, you will also charge the customer high. You will charge them the processing fee. You will also charge them say something like a 17% or 16% or 18% on a secured loan or 14%. And for unsecured loan, typically you go way below. But for when it comes to MSME, can they get it at maybe 12%? It's something which you can look at it. There's also, from a productivity perspective, a lot of duplication of work. We've seen that some people do legal multiple times or technical multiple times. They're worried on cost, valuation multiple times. And then there's a duplication of generic work internally. You may do KYC, and another guy wants to revalidate. So there's a improvement in productivity possible as such. And of course, from a customer touch point, it can be very, very nasty. And I will talk about my own experience where myself suffered. And actually, interestingly, I took a very simplistic product. Actually, I took a home loan. And given that I have a sole private company, I have a private limited company, I have a savings account as well. The amount of time it took me to get the approval for HL for me was 26 days from the best bank in the country. And post that, disbursement was another big mess. I mean, to the extent that I'm still suffering from it. It took me 2-3 months for me to convince the customer that to the bank that you have to now disburse because there's no money left. And it was so tough for me to get them around because they just didn't have empathy for MSME as well. So was actually told also that Samir, it is not done because we are good in only salaried class, but we have not done much for it. So which is one of the reasons why the last session is actually for MSMEs as well. So typical journey as such is when you do lead generation and document collection, you do that one component of it. Now, along the journey, you will work on credit and fraud check. So many times you will actually, RCU will come back and do the check again later on. Then you will do obviously legal and valuation of the property. And of course, we right now talking specifically for lab product or HL product. But let's say if the product is machinery, is there a digital footprint possible where you can get data? Then there is obviously insurance requirement which kicks in. How much insurance, how it is executed. Then obviously there's a disbursal involved. And then of course at one point in time there's a closure. And of course these products tend to be longer, and therefore you also need to, in the whole process, need to have a early warning system as well built in. You have to validate if the property is holding up. Is there any legal case on the property now? Is there any change in the income? So on an unsecured loan, you actually only track the customer, but here you have to check the legal and the valuation of the property. What if there is a flooding in that area, and suddenly pricing goes down and issues like that? So you need to be conscious about how you're handling your properties. Now, one of the reasons why there are so much of challenges in the market are largely linked to physical process, which kicks in, and it can be physical and digital. We did have a case earlier where one of our clients, I'm talking about a slightly dated, maybe a few years back, where we were revamping and rebaselining the process. We found that the customer KYC was done multiple times, and digitally it was done, and then in the back end during a legal and compliance and other places, they were doing 1 or 2 times more. And almost everything was getting replicated once or twice. And because every unit had their own perspective, and maybe the data was not captured, it was all physical by nature. And as I see in many places where right now we are consulting, we see that gap still. So there are too many stakeholders. Clarity is not there. Miscommunication is very much possible. For example, even in my case, state case, I actually handed over the same document and multiple kind of document over on across those 26 days, at least 7 to 8 times. And interestingly, before disbursement and during disbursement, I had to do it all over again as well. So the too many stakeholders and everybody had different view. Then there's a unified processes view is not there. So where exactly is the flow, where the customer experience is stuck? Nobody knows. Across any of these 26 days and post approval disbursement, at none point, not a single point of time, my sales guy could tell me the truth. So I never got access to what is happening. And of course, their digital platforms were not tuned for showing me anything, right? And very poorly architected. In terms of integration of processes are not built in, as we spoke about, since there is so much of manual handoffs in between. Data security and privacy issues are massively there. I think it was scary for me to share documents on Gmail. And unknown people, the guy who came for personal discussion was also somebody who was outsourced. The sales guy is outsourced. So you are lost on who we are talking and why that guy is taking all my personal details and this detail and that details, multiple sites. And of course, overall, across channels, there's no single. So we talk about omni-channel, but I didn't even see a single channel working. So this is the classical case in the secured lending, where most of the time we are inward focused and saying kar to liya, right? Ho to gaya. Month end mein kar lenge, right? But I think there's a dramatic need for improving the whole journey and process around that. So why it needs to be changed, right? I mean, let's just look at it. Why it needs to be changed. I mean, if it is not broken, it's okay, right? But I think what we personally believe is that the customer expectations are changing. What they see on the unsecured side, the amount of time I have taken myself PL in both in the shops as well as online, and every time it's just in minutes, seconds, right? And here is a case where customer knows what it is and what is possible. And suddenly, when they apply for a lab, they suddenly are stuck with one of the most antique and worst possible processes laid down on the customer. In terms of digital adoption, I think India Stack exists even for this segment. There are a lot of pieces of whole puzzle which is already solved for retail, for unsecured, can also be deployed on secured side. Platforms are much getting better and better with time. And of course, there are technology innovations which are continuously happening. I think we need to be able to, from automation perspective or AML perspective, the way documents are getting read today, agreements that can be e-signed today. I think there's a lot of pieces which are possible now. Now, how it can be done? I think we can leverage across multiple areas, right? For example, focus on customer experience and expectations, what they need, work with them. Look at your tech architecture, how it can be agile and bring things back. So, for example, unsecured stack has become agile, but maybe the secured stack has not been revisited, rebuilt, and stuff like that. So, can we work on it? Regulatory compliance obviously is much tighter in this segment, and how can we make it much more compliant is a key thing. Operation efficiency, you need to break things into pieces, saying, okay, finally, which is the place where the bottlenecks exist? How can we make it more efficient? How can we increase throughput? Generally, risk management, because of the piece, the thing that each loan is so high in price, and then the price of the property can also go through variation price of the machinery can go through validation, we need to do that. How do you ensure that we have a customer support engagements also built around that, where customers communicate? Maybe you can tomorrow offer them a top-up loan or something else and make the payment also really agile and simple. While we do all of that, we need to ensure that we work really hard on cost benefit exercise. The last thing we want is we spend tons of money bringing digital and the customer still does walks into the branch, or DSAs are only ones who are incentivized to use it. I mean, half the time when you go digital, the incentive structure is such that even the branches can push the customer to DSAs to themselves. And of course, when you do all of that, you need to be able to do a change management well in place. How to ensure that you roll this out changes segment by segment, city by city, rather than going berserk across the country and making the mess from the customer perspective. So we need to learn a lot because this process has not been changed. And I think 7 years have changed in other sites, but this will need slow changes as well. And these are some pointers here. I mean, not saying these companies named are the right companies, wrong companies, but just think about it. E-sign is possible. We can solve for it. E-Nash and UPI are already there. Can we use it? There are enough platforms like a Sahmati's account aggregator, and of course, Perfios kind of tools which are there for statement analysis, which already exist, which are used and unsecured. Bureaus are there. And of course, there are even for MSMEs, tons of APIs and we created and utilized in umpteen times. Can we use that? And of course, KYC. So these are the things which are already there in place. These are the areas where work is in progress. We have seen people doing valuation. There are guys who are doing digital PD. There is also, of course, PD still has to be done. I'm not saying at any point of time you give a loan of 40, 50 lakhs or 1 crore without any digital touch, without any physical touch. So you can do PD, you can do digital PD or physical PD. No doubt about it. But can we make it within the system and ensure the data is also flows in? Many times the physical documents are printed and documented, but that doesn't come in the system. And of course, from a pure, some of these entities are solving for it, like from a video PD perspective or from a digital SRO perspective. We have heard a lot, people actually are solving for it. And of course, we also seen leaders like a Vastu or Aditya Birla, and many of these companies are already doing it. I think it's not that I'm talking about futuristic thing. Customers are wanting it, employees are wanting, business wants it. I think I don't know which stakeholder is not looking for it. There's so much of drudgery which happens during the month end and the quarter end when people can't go back home because the load is very high. And then in the first week, suddenly the peak goes down. So we need to find a way to automate and simplify the life of employees as well. So improvements are possible across board, from a lead generation perspective to origination to sanction to servicing. I think each area, if we were to look at it, can we do the touch point and improve that area as well? So it's a broadening of activity, and maybe initially we can solve for one area, then second area, and others like that. We don't need to go and solve everything, but ideally we should put a target on SLAs and figure out what we can do about it. For example, today it is possible for you to not just work with normal DSAs. You actually should be working and building a CRM system by which you can get data or on ideas from maybe input suppliers of building, right? Like a steel company or a cement company. So you can actually get those data points, so you can get an idea. Or maybe somebody going to service providers like from a furniture perspective or platforms like 99 acres. So everybody starts their journey somewhere here. So how do we partner with them and sort of bring in board? We also see an innovation where people like a PhonePe or a Pesa Bazaar are now offering digital maybe lending on the platform in partnership with many entities in the market. You need to ensure that your CRM is ready to pull that data and start the process. Right now, it's all broken. You will do half manual, half digital, and basically customers are disengaged at times. So I think this segment also would need API-led interfaces and improvements around that. Then, of course, from a pure origination perspective, there are tons of LOS, LMSs which can come in, which can actually help you in integrations where you can actually do things like a property appraisal and all the process, but actually embedded within the system so that you can also get a single view. There's a lot of work to be done here, but I think progress is definitely on board where people are doing it. We need to ensure that at any point of time, data entries are, even if physically done, they go back into system and sort of used for the next level of discussions or integrations. document verification or legal valuation. So they have to be embedded in the flow. All I've done is in piece of paper comes back and somebody punches in the LOS some 5 data entries, and the rest of the critical and very rich data is lost because nobody inputs that data. So I think data, all the process has to kick in and go into the LOS system. Sanction and others, I think we need to ensure that some level of automation on PR is possible. I know of players which are doing digital automation at times, but it comes to underwriting, it's still offline and does not flow. So I think there's enough data point, enough places from underwriting, issuance and acceptance, to a payment processing, to a charge creation, to a loan agreement signature. A lot of toolkits exist today, which can be fully automated or at least half automated to some extent. And of course, from a servicing perspective, I think I still don't know how to log into my LMS, and why it is not into my banking data is also not known. But yeah, maybe those are the flows which is not being created. And of course, you need to do a brilliant job on early warning signal. You may have seen already RBI new regulation which came out recently, which talks a lot about how you should actually work on EWS and of course the fraud management. And that segment, I think we've seen most NBFC is slightly sort of late to the table, but maybe that's some work can be done. And of course, just before we close, I think we already have launched our training portal. You can go to FinTech Grad. Maybe you can drop the link on the platform, Sakshi, and they can pick it up. You can actually, so secure lending product will come very soon. And here already there are platform products like account aggregator, ONDC, and digital lending, digital payments already on board. You can go and subscribe. We also can take Bharat FinTech Summit as a gold plus along with this as well. So with this, I pause and hand it over back to Vikrant to take it forward from here. And I'll be back in maybe after some time for the panel discussion as well. Thank you, and over to you, Vikrant.